get nervous, you can't even think. You can't type.
Yeah.
You like freeze up completely. And so I was like, this could be my comeback or this could be my downfall. Like, it was really one of those moments where I was like, I could come back from this and it could be a really good story, or I could tank and this is my only semester and then I don't come back. Welcome to The Dive, the official podcast of Wavestream Media. I'm Cee Cee.
And I'm Mark. We're the founders of Wavestream, and this is where we slow down, talk it out, and dive into the stuff that deserves a little more airtime.
One topic, one story, or one person per episode, whether it's something we're building, something we're questioning, or something we just can't stop thinking about.
Let's dive in. Back at it with another episode of The Dive, and I'm really excited because it's honestly just baffling to me that we're like the whole situation about this episode, Cee Cee, because I've alluded to this before, but it's absolutely mind-boggling to me that you are in law school right now.
Yes.
And you still have time to run a business and like live your life.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm amazed by that too, but I think I'm grateful to have made it past the first year. I think the first year was a lot of trial and error in figuring out what works and what doesn't, and like how to maintain your sanity a little bit. And burnout is something that a lot of people deal with regardless of what they might have going on outside of their day job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sometimes I'm like, I think you get used to it and you forget that this is actually a lot of work. And sometimes it's nice to be reminded, like, hey, good job for doing that. So I am excited to talk about it. I don't know what you want to know, but I'm excited to discuss.
Well, I guess you know where to start, but at the beginning, like, I want to know what got you into law school. Just as did you always want to be a lawyer?
Yeah, I decided, I think either the second semester of my junior year of college or like the beginning of my senior year. I think it was junior because I think I took the LSAT for the first time back then, that I wanted to go into law. I think I've mentioned in the first episode that I didn't want to be a journalist, which is what I had gone to school for, and I didn't want to do that. The thing that I think really bothered me about journalism was that it was, I think I mentioned, really stressful and really negative and sad. And the thing that I think bothered me the most was that there was nothing I could do about the things that I was writing about or talking about, depending on whatever medium that we were using. And I realized that a lot of the skills that I have, which are, I'm a pretty good communicator. Whether or not this podcast is a good reflection of that, I don't know. I'm a pretty good communicator. I like to write. I write well. I pay really close attention to detail. You know, a lot of those things really aligned well with being a lawyer. And so that's what I decided I wanted to do. But then in 2020, I hate when people talk about it. I wish we could just move on, but it's relevant to this part of the story. In 2020, I would have been starting my law school journey online. And part of me also really just wanted to take a break from being in school, and life happens, and I was fortunate enough to, get a job and then be able to like really grow in that, and everything I think worked out as it should have. And so a couple years later, I was like, all right, I'm ready to get back to this idea again. But I liked making money. So I didn't want to go full time because I liked having money. I'd bought a house, I had things that I needed to pay for that maybe weren't conducive to being a full-time student.
Yeah, a car payment and Diet Cokes, they don't buy themselves.
Absolutely not. No. So I decided that I wanted to go part-time. My mom had gone through the same part-time program as well. She graduated in 2021, so she went back later in life. And I was like, well, you know what? I can do that. So I decided that I would do that. And I was in a podcast recording with a client when I found out that I got in, which was really exciting
Oh,
because
nice.
for undergrad, I think we talked about I wanted to go to app. You wanted to go to app.
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
both
yeah.
going to go to app. And I was never really attached to where I was going to go to school at that point in time. I was just kind of like, well, let's see where I get in and then I'll decide where to go. I'm pretty easygoing, believe it or not. I think I'm type A in a lot of ways, but also I don't really care.
I mean, I think it's okay to be type A and like laid back and relaxed at the same time.
Well, people seem to think that those two things cannot go together. I disagree. I think that they can.
Yeah, I kind of think more of like the whole type A, type B thing, kind of relating more to like systems and like structure, organization. Because like, I think of myself very much as like an artist, but I also think of myself as very much like, let's call it type A minus.
Yeah, right. I can get behind that because I mean, I will pretty much go with whatever. Like, unless it's something that's really really important to me for some minute reason that my brain has decided is critical, then like I'm whatever. So I didn't really care where I went to undergrad, but obviously in this, like I only applied to this one school because it's the only school that has this program. I also only applied to that program, I didn't apply to get in the day or in the evening. I just said this one school and this one program where in my class, they took 16 people, but this most recent one, they took like 23. So somewhere between 15 and 25 people get in.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I hope that they pick me. And so when I got the email, like that was like my actual getting into college moment, where you're like, holy hell, like I actually did it. It was really exciting.
And I mean, it also sounds like you've been crushing it too. Like, I don't want to be like too presumptuous, but you told me earlier this year you were in. I mean, I think you had your contracts class in your first semester this year, and didn't you tell me that you got like one of the highest grades in that class?
Yeah, I mean, I made Dean's List my first semester and my second semester.
Hey.
Yeah, I did. I got on LACE this summer. You don't really talk about your grades a lot in law school, but I can brag about them here. So I mean, I am doing well. Yeah, my contract's final, and this is kind of it was a good story and a good wake up call in its own moment. Like when I first got there, you have your first year, you have first assessments and then second assessments, which is kind of like a midterm, and then you have a final. Once you get past like that first year kind of period, you just have a midterm and a final, and that's really it. But when you're warming up, they give you a little extra, like, here's 10 points, good luck type of thing. And I'd done really well on my first assessments, but on my second assessments, I have pretty intense anxiety when it comes to, like, school things.
Yeah.
I mean, I have intense anxiety about all kinds of irrational things, too. Like, I have generalized anxiety disorder, and you never know, of course, when, like, okay, this dumb thing that I don't actually care about all of a sudden is going to make me really anxious. But around school, it's a little bit more predictable. And as things became worth more, I got more nervous, I guess. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get an accommodation for this. So that's what I did. And I get a little bit of extra time on my tests now because I did not do well on my second assessments my first year because I was too freaking nervous about them. Like, it's, you get nervous, you can't even think. You can't type.
Yeah.
You, like, freeze up completely. And so I was like, this could be my comeback or this could be my downfall. Like, it was really one of those moments where I was like, I could come back from this and it could be a really good story, or I could tank and this is my only semester and then I don't come back. But I worked really hard. I like really wanted it. I knew that I would be good at this. Like I watch so many law videos in my free time. My YouTube videos are all lawyers. I've been watching this one trial for 3 weeks. Like I'm very committed. This is why I like. It's fun for me. And I was like, damn it if I can't prove to myself that I can do it. And so I worked really hard. I studied really hard. I ended up getting the second highest grade on my contracts final the first semester for contracts 1. And then second semester, I ended up with a B, I think, in the class, which is great when you got like an F on the midterm. And then I ended up getting an A the second semester in the class. So it ended up being the good comeback story, not the This is my one semester and I'm out of here.
Love it. And this is what we're here to share the good stories, right? We're not here to talk about, bombing midterms, but that's, it's real, right?
It happens. Yeah. And I think everybody has their own moments of like questioning, like, am I supposed to be here or not? Like, there are certain things that subjects that people are naturally better at than others. And they maybe, if they start with those, they're like, wow, I'm a genius. And then they get to something that is maybe not their strongest. And they're like, wow, I'm an idiot. Like it's a very humbling experience. I'll put it that way.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things about, law specifically is, like I think when I was a kid, I thought that lawyers they knew every law ever, right? They just had memorized the big book of laws. But at the end of the day,
it kind of feels like they expect you to sometimes.
Really? Oh, well, I was going to say that it's probably much more of like just, let's call it a research-based field, right? Like you are in a case and you're researching all of the laws kind of related to that. And then you're really trying to build a case off of that and like researching all the sort of legal precedents and the other cases that kind of relate to it. And if my understanding of how the law works, I mean, I know less than nothing about the law, but if my understanding is right, then I mean, these are like skills that you built while you were like, working or learning to become a journalist and like doing all that sort of stuff. And it's highly applicable to the work you're doing now.
Yeah, I think once you get into practice, that is absolutely true. And something else, actually, ironically, that I think will be helpful for me in the future. I want to be a trial attorney. Ultimately, that's my goal. And so for work, having to write questions for people on all different topics to like get a certain response, things that I maybe don't know about, but knowing that I need to get a certain answer, that's also really good practice for eventually when I end up in court. But when you're in school, they kind of expect you to know everything ever. Like when you get tested, you got no access to anything. It's just you and whatever it is and you're expected to know at least half of the law of contracts at one time and then the other half the next semester, and everything about agency and partnership or property. Like you have to know a lot because you have to know it all for the bar, so you have to know it.
Well, I guess this brings me to one of like the first big things is like, law school doesn't sound like it's a walk in the park. Like this is a very like demanding coursework.
Yeah.
And
I say it's like a really demanding, time consuming hobby is kind of what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah. And, look, I've got plenty of those as well, but I don't want to compare anything that I do to going to law school. I just think that's, not quite right. But like, that just seems like such an intense thing to do while like doing that while you have a job is like one thing, right? But like here you are and you have made, your job like now like such an even bigger part of your life than it was before. Like maybe we're not doing quite as much work as we were previously, but I think we're working almost more like in some ways, just kind of working through all of the problems that we're facing in the launch right now. So I guess my first question is just like, where do you find the time? Like, how are you able to manage your time so well to like do well in law school, get all your homework done, learn everything, and also just being able to do your job?
Yeah, this is where the calendars come in and the organization skills come in because everything is planned. Like everything that I do is planned. When I will have time for one thing or another, it's all penciled in. So I have like a calendar for my personal life, and I have a calendar for work meetings, and I have a color-coded calendar for school, and then I have a color-coded calendar for like my bills and like anything else that there is. So everything is planned out very strategically. But I think once you kind of get into a routine of like, how you study best and like what it is you need to know and how to figure out even what it is you need to know. It gets easier and it takes less time. And if you're consistent with it, you're never like bombarded with like, oh shit, like I have to study all of this right now because I'm so behind. So I think staying on top of it and staying consistent is important. But I also think, and this advice this piece of it is applicable for people just it just working. If you only do the hard stuff, like if you only work or if you only study and you don't give yourself time to like do things that you actually enjoy too, you have to be able to pencil that in, or it gets harder to do the things that you have to do if you don't do the things that you want to do, you know?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so, I mean, went to my parents' house for part of this past weekend, and my friend came over. The weekend before that, I went to the movies, you know, and I'm still studying and getting all of my stuff done, but you have to have time. But I guess the short answer to your question is organizing. Like everything is organized. This is when I'm going to go do my grocery store pickup, you know, not going to the grocery store and doing the pickup. That's a great way to get things for really cheap too. I just want to put that out there. You can really, the BOGO section of the Instacart Publix pickup is where I do most of my shopping, because it's like, here's everything that's half off. What would you like? It's a great place to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have definitely gotten a lot of mileage out of putting benign things on the calendar before, you know, things as simple as like checking emails. And I think that that's definitely helped me out in like a lot of ways just to be more productive. But
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that you're talking about like making sure that you're, you know, if not scheduling time, but really carving out time to do the things that make you happy and sort of recharge you as a person. Because I feel like when I don't do that, I am definitely like, it's weird because I'm like like I have that time somewhere, but it feels like I'm trying to claw back the time to do that sort of stuff. But it was always there to begin with in a certain way, right? Like maybe I'm like working a little bit too late in the day. Like if I don't have like a hard cutoff, like, oh, I am done working by like 5 every day. You know, if I push myself to work until like 6 or 7, then I'm just not having that time I need to sort of recharge as a person. And then that means maybe the next morning I'm sleeping in, or I am doing something in the morning that's not productive, and that's kind of carving into the you know, the next block of time that I needed to, because I needed to get something really important done. Like this is a Tuesday deadline, and I needed to get this done on Friday, or else I'm gonna have to take time over the weekend. You know, just those sorts of situations that all just kind of, you know, cascades into one another if you're not
compounds.
being very intentional about it.
Yeah, I think I have never considered myself to be somebody who's particularly disciplined. I wouldn't use discipline as a way to describe myself. I think I have kind of had to become that way. Yeah. I really kind of like to do what I want when I want to do it. If it's fun, like that's really my personality. But I think, like I was saying, and like you were saying, when you stick to what you say you're going to do, you enjoy your free time more. And I think by giving yourself an expectation of like, this is what I know I expect from myself for whatever, then you can, once you've achieved that, you feel, I guess, better about yourself for achieving it. You can enjoy that time that you have too. I also think in terms of like, you were talking about stopping working at 5. This is kind of a side quest that doesn't have to do with school, but I think it's hard for me to imagine people working 9 to 5 every single day and going into the office and doing it. Like I did graduate in 2020. That's never been my lifestyle. And it doesn't seem like a productive use of somebody's time, to be honest. And something that we've done is we've tried to say, if we can, let's take Fridays off. You know, if we don't have anything to do, let's not be expected to be there, because it really is so important to have a balance and not let what you do, whether it be work or be school, become your entire identity, because you're a real person. You're not just whatever output you have on society. So
yeah, you know, I think that in all aspects of our lives, we really get a lot of satisfaction from, you know, the sort of level, like measurable accomplishment, right? Like we really like checking tasks off. We really like completing assignments and getting, you know, that sort of gratification of like a good grade on it. And it can be hard to look at, you know, like our personal relationships and, you know, our hobbies and get that same kind of, you know, measurable accomplishment. You know, sure, like I get plenty of measurable accomplishment when I'm like, you know, starting like a painting project and I'm going from 0 to completed, right? But just hanging out with my friends, it's not the same, right? I don't get to like check that off unless I like literally write, oh, hang out with Curran as a thing on my calendar, which
And
I
I
mean,
will
sure.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Like I have, like, even if it's something that I plan earlier in the day that then happens, like I put it in there just to remind myself, like that thing that going to the movies, or my friend Corey came over. I made ZD last weekend and she came over and we watched a movie at my house. That is just as important to me as whatever meeting happened on Wednesday or class on Thursday night. That Saturday night time is equally as important. I think treating everything like it's equally as important is really helpful. And so I put everything on there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think you mentioned earlier that may be sort of the missing link for me, and this insane level of accomplishment, is like you said that you weren't maybe natively a disciplined person, but you've kind of learned to become that over time.
Yeah.
And so, do you have any tips for somebody who maybe feels the same way, who may or may not be on this podcast?
I think what did it for me was feeling the consequences of not having it. Like, if I wasn't disciplined, like the amount of stress, like I could save myself the suffering if I just did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I also think that once you get past that initial, like, I could save myself the stress feeling, it starts to, at least to me, almost feel like a game. So, like, I have when I go to the gym on my calendar as well. And I don't want to freaking do that a lot. Okay. A lot of times I would rather just not go. Yeah. But it's good for you. And it's good. It's for me, I do it mostly for a mental thing. It helps me be happier generally. Mm-hmm. But it's like a game. Okay. I got up and I went to the gym. I did what it said I was going to do. Like, not only do I get to like enjoy the benefit of going to the gym, but now, like, look at me, I did what I said I was going to do. I'm a good person, Yeah. I followed through and I think it's for me too. It's like I followed through when nobody would have known if I didn't. I think that it means something to be able to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about leveling up and doing side quests in the game of life, like exactly. It's not, this isn't like a multiplayer game. We're not competing against each other here. It is very much a single player experience, and you have to enjoy, the story that you're carving out for yourself. And at the end of the day, like, sure, maybe nobody else realizes that you've just leveled up by doing all this stuff, but you're going to know.
Exactly. And I think I'm fairly competitive. I'm competitive to a point. I'm competitive when it matters and I care. There are some things where, like, I really don't care. Like we talked about on the game episode, like, I don't care if I win or lose a board game. Like, it just does not matter to me. But law school is really competitive. You get ranked every exam. You get ranked at the end of the year. Like, you're constantly playing against the other people in your class. And I also think that having those things that you can only measure against yourself are really helpful too. And like reminding yourself that not everything is a competition with somebody else. And also at a certain point, I think I've stopped caring about competing with other people. I think I have a friend that we both want to do really well. And I think we're pretty competitive with each other, but like in a friendly way. And beyond that, it is what it is. I know what I know,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that there is a certain level of like fun in competition, but I also don't think it's everything. On my other podcast, we talk a lot about like competing, and I think that there is certainly a drive to get to the top, but I don't think that, the level of sacrifice to, at least in my own personal experience, like the level of sacrifice to reach like the top in like a game just isn't worth it to me, where there's just so many other things in my life where it's like, I would rather spend that effort working, on my business, or like hanging out with my dog, hanging out with my family.
Right. Or your friends, or just being happy generally.
Yeah.
My roommate in college, Erica, I credit her this. She would say this, like, as we got towards the end of every semester, like about the time when the grade calculators come out, the GPA calculators come out, it's like, I got to get a 75 to get a C or whatever,
Yeah,
She would always say comparison is the thief of joy, and I think it really
it's
is.
true.
And I think that you can get really caught up in the competition and become really, really unhappy really quickly. I think law school is a great environment for that. And so it's a big test too in managing your expectations of yourself and also like remembering that it really is about you. I want to be the best, of course, but I will never try to be the best at the sacrifice of my own happiness like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think about my journey to being the best is, to me, being the best is being well-rounded and not making
Yeah.
not making so many sacrifices that, any one area of my life is lacking because I'm pushing myself too hard in another area.
I agree completely because I think that you're going to have to at some point make a sacrifice for something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I would never want to sacrifice, something else that's important to me as well, just to get the highest score on a test or something.
Yeah. And, one of the undercurrents of this episode is work-life balance. And people talk all the time about how it is never really, it maybe is an incorrect term because you'll never find perfect balance between your life and work. You're always going to kind of be pushing hard in one side or the other. But I think that balance is the right word for it, honestly. I think that, just because something is balanced doesn't mean it is perfectly balanced. You kind of use the idea of balance to monitor like what area of your life needs more attention.
I agree. I think that it is achievable because I think ultimately it's not necessarily about how much time you spend or like it's more about how you feel about the effort you've put into both things. And I think if you feel that you can put equal effort into your work and equal effort into your life, then that is what the real balance is. And I also, like I said earlier, I just don't think that it's healthy to identify yourself so deeply with like, this is my job or this is what I do and I am only what I do. Like you have a lot more to you than that individually. Also, I'm trying not to move a lot. I've noticed from these episodes that I talk out of one side of my mouth and I can't sit still. So this is the first time I've moved all episode. I just want to put that out there. If you're watching on YouTube, my foot's asleep. Okay. It was time.
Do you so I don't know about you, but like my feet are always asleep. I either like have one like propped up or I sit on my leg a lot. I don't know. I feel like I've always done that.
I sit like crisscross applesauce. I sit with my feet. My feet, when I'm in the chair, are rarely touching the ground. Both of them are almost never touching the ground at the same time. I'm crossing my legs. I've got one foot in the chair. I don't know. I move around a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any sort of formal diagnosis, but I feel like I'm a person who has a lot of anxiety, and I feel like that's part of where it manifests for me. I got the bouncing leg a lot of the time, and just kind of changing my position while I'm seated a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of. On top of that, I also have a lot of energy. Like like constantly. I think that's a benefit to this. I always like to be doing something. Like I love having activities. So I'm always moving around. I always want to be thinking about something or working on something or doing something. And that's a big benefit here, but it's not a good benefit if you're the viewer of the podcast, particularly apparently if you're my mom, because she really got on me for that one.
Well, I guess as we're winding down here, this is our 5th episode, and at the time we're recording this, we've got 2 episodes that have gone out. Like, what's been your experience like having the dive out in the world?
It's been fun. It's taking some getting used to, like I said, seeing myself hosting again, being back on the podcast again. I think in the last couple of years, I'd gotten pretty comfortable with being the behind the scenes person and not being public like I had been before.
Sure.
And so I think it's been an adjustment to like show my face on the internet like that again and just talk all the time. But it's been good. It's been fun to see who's listened to it and hear some responses to it. And it's been fun to see how many of our friends just want to be on a podcast. And so we're going to start having some guests soon, which will be fun. I love the idea of learning about things that I don't know about. So I'm excited to do that with them.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, there's definitely a lot that we can learn from each other, but there's so much more that we can learn from other people as well. And I agree. Like, I am really honestly blown away by some of the people who have taken time out of their day to listen to us yap. I mean, I maybe a little less so than you. I've been like very much in this groove of hosting and, you know, being maybe more of like a public figure in some ways over the last year with my other show. But, you know, it's weird because I'm seeing my face on Instagram and I'm just like, whoa.
Like, there I am.
Yeah, I've very much been a lurker on social media like my whole life. And so now that I'm like, making content and like posting more, it's like that's just kind of surreal to me in a way. And also, it feels like a lot of work. It feels like a lot of work just being on social media.
It is a lot of work. I think most people have probably heard me complain about it by now. Ironically, like my first real office job I was a social media person. Like that was my gig. And I liked it. It was for a bigger institution, so that was easier to handle because like you knew how it was going. Growing something on social media is a different story. And also I just like I post on my socials once every 6 months, like only on Instagram. I don't like not on any other platform. Right. So it's been an adjustment getting back into that and trying to come up with what to post. If anybody has any ideas, please DM me what you would like to see.
Yeah, we would certainly love to hear from you. I know that I would really like to connect with the people out there, fans of the dive, fellow divers, if you would.
Right. Right. Absolutely. We would love to hear what you have to say and potentially have you on. So,
well, as we're getting ready to wrap it up here, please stay tuned for our next episode because while Cee Cee and I have been pretty chill, we're pretty cool. We definitely got some hot takes and we're going to try and serve those up sizzling and steaming hot next
Yes, I'm ready for them. I feel like at least once a day I say something and somebody is surprised by it. So I feel like I'm going to come with some good ones. I just have to figure out what they are first.
Yeah, I've been told I've got hot takes. It doesn't feel like I do, but I think I'm probably going to surprise myself a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, what I told you when we came up with this idea is I feel like my opinions are correct. So if other people are surprised by them, that's a them issue.
Yeah.
That's it for this dive. Thanks for being here. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at wavestream.media. And if you want a podcast like this one or totally not like this one, visit our website, wavestream.media. Talk soon.